My name is Ali Haeri. I run marketing at Mountain. Has anyone here heard of Mountain before? You've seen our ads? It's going to help a lot with this presentation, the fact that you've seen our ads. Outside of Mountain, I'm an adjunct professor at Northwestern. I teach a graduate level course in product marketing, and so really I'm just kind of saying that to disarm you a little bit. Like, I'm here to talk to you as a fellow B2B marketer. I've done this my whole career. I've just done a ton of B2B marketing. I come to this conference every year, and I just love talking to my peers. And so that's sort of my kind of disarming preamble as we're about to talk about connected television. So what we'll talk about today is, one, what's going on with CTV, specifically how CTV is being interpreted as a performance marketing channel. There's a lot of interesting developments on that front. Then we'll specifically kind of key in on what's going on with CTV relative to B2B marketing. That's where things get really interesting. And finally, I want to talk to you about how my team at Mountain uses CTV as a channel as part of our ABM strategy and just generally as a B2B marketing crew, which I think we're really best in class. One thing I kind of traditionally do at B2BMX every year is, to the chagrin of my marketing team, is I come and I give away our playbook. So I will share with you precisely what we're doing so that you all can kind of copy off our notes, and I'll be back next year with a new strategy. This isn't really breaking news here, but ABM is still important. I don't know where that typo came from. I think it's a formatting issue, but bear with me on that. But ABM is obviously still important. We have a whole track here at B2BMX just dedicated to it, and it's obviously an essential tool for B2B marketers. It really was a breakthrough for B2B marketers when it became a thing. And the stats still bear it out. 70% of marketers use ABM. That makes sense. 91% of marketers say ABM drives larger deals. I think intuitively everybody would agree with that. Just kind of orienting yourselves around an ABM strategy is going to better organize you as a marketing operation, but again, it's going to also set you up for a lot of digital marketing success. What we've seen is a lot of digital advertising platforms sort of have been organized in a way assuming that you're going to be doing ABM and really being kind of audience friendly, which is really great for B2B marketers specifically. But there's challenges with ABM as well. First is it can be really repetitive. Some of the constraints that we have as ABM marketers, as marketers doing ABM, is some of you may have some really narrow target audiences. I always like to ask people, like, who here thinks that they're targeting the most narrow audience in the room? Who are you targeting? Yeah. Small law firms, okay, that could get pretty small. What else? Anybody else? Yeah. Banks and credit unions. I mean, that's all admirable, but I've seen people who've had to target people who are in the market for used farm equipment. Like that's pretty narrow as well. But these audiences relative to that actually seem like pretty healthy in size. So actually, I think you guys are in a pretty good spot. But it could be repetitive, considering the fact that sometimes we're targeting some really small audiences. It can also be hard to stand out, and it could also be repetitive in the sense that a lot of people are playing out of the same playbook. Everybody, I think, generally, their initial idea of what an ABM strategy should be is probably the same. I think when we all think about ABM, and we did word association here, we'd probably rattle off the same platforms, the same channels. I think everyone would say email in some sort of way. We talk about some lists and CRM targeting and CRM platforms. I mean, there's a generalized idea of what ABM looks like, and for better or for worse, everybody's doing it the same way. And you have to consider the fact that again, some stats here: only 5% of B2B buyers are actually ready to buy in this moment. Whereas, and 90% of B2B buyers purchase from companies they know. How do you sustain interest with your prospects when 95% of them aren't ready to buy today? That could be a huge challenge, sustaining that interest. Also, depending on your sales cycle as well, too. I have a friend who does B2B marketing where his sales cycle is 18 months, whereas some others, just a matter of weeks. And so these are some huge challenges that ABM by itself does not necessarily solve. And so connected TV really kind of fits in nicely here for a variety of reasons. First, it could just generally be a competitive differentiator for any B2B advertiser, just for the mere fact that still a lot of B2B advertisers aren't doing it. Now, I got to be honest with you. The first time I came to B2B I kind of observed a lot of people were coming to us saying, yeah, I've heard about it, or, I'm a consumer of streaming television myself, so I see the advertising, but we don't really have it part of our channel mix right now. Whereas now we're noticing, just by virtue of a lot of B2B advertisers on the Mountain platform itself, and also just the conversations that I'm having, people are quite familiar with it. Maybe they've even run a campaign or two. So definitely the familiarity has increased. But still, anecdotally speaking, I feel like a lot of B2B marketers are not seizing this opportunity, which opportunistically, all of you as B2B marketers should really be seizing upon that. Really, the fact that you have a lot of share of voice as a B2B brand, sitting inside an ad break with a lot of consumer advertising, or in some cases, an ad break that might just be your ad only, which is really impactful as a B2B brand. It's a powerful demand gen tool. If we're talking specifically about a platform like Mountain, then you can actually track leads that are generated directly attributed to the TV campaigns that you're running, which is incredibly impactful. And then also from a prospecting standpoint, prospecting and retargeting, one thing that a recurring theme that I'll keep tapping into over the course of this presentation is that you have to reorient yourself when you're thinking about CTV. It's really tempting for a lot of people who aren't familiar with the channel to just think of it as an analog to broadcast or linear TV advertising, because we've been seeing linear TV advertising all our lives, and so we think about it that way. It's untargeted, it's a shotgun approach, it's shown to a wide volume of people, and it's not trackable. Really, that's not the case. Its underpinnings is programmatic advertising, so it's actually highly targetable, especially depending on the platform that you're using. It could be really targeted and really efficient from an attribution standpoint as well. And so the point with that is you can carry over a lot of your strategy, a lot of your learnings from other performance marketing channels to connected TV. It's really just a different ad unit, but everything else is really looks, feels, and smells like other performance marketing channels that you're actually using. So in the case of prospecting and retargeting, whatever you're doing strategically to segment those audiences and serve them different creative and to track the success of those campaigns, that extends to connected television as well. And of course with ABM lists too. If you're kind of coming into this with a really sophisticated ABM strategy and you're precisely targeting these different ABM audiences, why not serve them targeted TV advertising as well? You certainly can do it just as we do. Now, on that topic of prospecting, this is a really cool feature of connected TV. Again, carrying over whatever you're doing strategically from a advertising standpoint, from a prospecting standpoint, I should say, onto connected TV. You can get really precise and granular with the targeting that you're doing. Specifically with the characteristics of targeting based off of firmographic data, role type, job function, sales volume, in market for different sorts of B2B purchasing, all of that's available. All of that is available. In the same way that you're probably targeting those audiences, I suspect, on LinkedIn, you can absolutely do that on a platform like Mountain for your B2B audiences. And for those of you that are really into this stuff, you probably noticed that there's like some real name brand data providers that specifically provide audiences for B2B marketers. Bombora, Analytics IQ, Dun & Bradstreet, all of those audiences, again, are targetable on a platform like Mountain with CTV ads, which I always tell people, like, really sit there and think about what the end user experience is here. Somebody who is in market to buy. This is a real audience segment that I've seen a live campaign with. Someone who buys analytics software. Like that is a really nice intent-based audience to target. Imagine that person sitting at home watching ad-supported streaming TV and seeing an ad for a product relevant precisely to what their day job is. They're used to seeing ads for consumer products that may or may not be relevant to them. But if they saw an ad for your B2B solution and they're in market for that, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to be that prospect and to see something so targeted, especially considering the fact, as we all know, TV generally has been a no man's land for a lot of B2B advertisers. It's just never made financial sense for most B2B advertisers, except for I always observe General Electric and Boeing on a PGA Sunday afternoon. Outside of that, I never really saw any sort of meaningful B2B advertising actually happening on traditional TV. So considering that, you actually have an opportunity to really sort of leave an impact, leave a real positive impression on your prospect with the most impactful ad channel that we have, the biggest screen in the house in a non-skippable ad format, in a place where they're not expecting to see an advertisement that's relevant to what they do. And there's so many studies that show that people react positively to ads that actually target them efficiently. Now let's talk about keywords for a second. Now this part is specific to Mountain, but I'm only mentioning it because I think it's of particular interest to a room of B2B marketers. The big innovation from Mountain last year is a new feature called Mountain Matched. And Mountain Matched is what we believe to be the first and only form of keyword-based targeting on TV. And what Mountain Matched is doing is essentially it's targeting keywords related to your products and services to users who have a demonstrated interest in whatever those keywords actually are. So the way it works is you sign up for Mountain, our generative AI technology, because everyone has one now. Our AI technology distills your whole website, your products and services, into a series of keywords. And it takes those keywords, and you can edit those keywords. If you'd like, you can add to them, you can remove them. But generally speaking, the initial slate of keywords is actually pretty good. And it matches those keywords against the Mountain identity graph. And Mountain sees tons of users. The data is very fresh. It's no older than 30 days. And these users are categorized by a variety of characteristics: life events, shopping behavior, web browsing behavior, and the platform does the matching for you. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this to B2B marketers is Mountain Matched has been tremendously successful for all brands, B2C or B2B. We've seen about a 6x increase in website visits and a 2x increase in conversions since we launched this. But it's disproportionately beneficial to brands that are that usually have a harder time targeting audiences, which B2B may stand to have a bit of a harder time to target audiences in a sort of traditional way compared to a classic kind of consumer product. It's also particularly good for product categories that aren't well known. So if you're in advertising in an entirely new product category, a tool like Mountain Matched can be really beneficial for you because it may be hard to kind of use the classic ways of characterizing audiences with just kind of demographic data, transforming that into an interest list for your product. One great example I always kind of use for this is, I remember during COVID, I saw a lot of advertisements for this device that you put on your keychain, and it was like a prong and a hook, and you saw the demonstration, and it was because no one wanted to touch anything during COVID, so they would press elevator buttons and open doors with it. What is that product called? I don't know. I still don't know. But how would you market a product like that when no one knows what it's called or what the category of that product actually is? Something like that would definitely benefit. That's an extreme example of a solution like this. But features like Mountain Matched are disproportionately benefit companies that are selling products that are entirely new categories, and again, products where traditional methods of building audiences are going to be pretty difficult. Now, steal our playbook. This is the part of the presentation where I just kind of give it all away. And I want to specifically talk about how Mountain uses CTV. Now, I think The first thing that's not on the slide that I should probably address is the fact that I think a lot of people kind of know us for our chief creative officer, who's Ryan Reynolds. And just to get it out of the way, yes, he really works at Mountain. It's real, and all the creative that you see is actually from Ryan himself. He's creating the ads that we run for Mountain. But I'm actually not here to talk about that, because otherwise this would be a very short presentation. It'd be get an A-list movie star to be associated with your brand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's not actually the point here. Our ABM strategy is actually sophisticated, and it's not dependent on Ryan. And really, one of the first learnings I want to mention is consistency. And this may seem obvious, but I don't think it actually is, because I see some offenders of this all the time. And what I mean by this is, if you see Mountain's ads on TV, they will be consistent both from an aesthetic standpoint and also from a messaging standpoint on every other channel that you'll see us. If you see a TikTok ad from Mountain, a LinkedIn ad, a CTV ad, and in the rare instances that we're doing print advertising, there's a through line between all of them, and that's really important. The reason why I'm calling this out is because I see a lot of advertisers who treat TV very differently than all of their other channels. And for sometimes it's an understandable reason, which is because there's a different team inside the company that's responsible for TV advertising than the ones who are doing performance marketing. And so you see that a lot, and I understand that. But really what's important is, CTV can be a high volume channel for you where you're serving up a lot of impressions. It's still a digital channel too. Assuming everybody who's going to be doing CTV is doing a lot of other digital advertising as well, it's important that all of these ads are complementary to one another. And so it doesn't seem obvious, but you really got to make sure that, especially for brands that are already sitting on some sort of video creative, or maybe even some TV creative, you want to make sure that there's some real consistency between your creative. Now, another thing that we do is we actually use CTV to test. CTV has become so nimble, and we are as a team as well, that we actually test out things on CTV before we deploy it to other channels. So we will create an ad, we'll upload it to the platform, we'll target different types of audiences. And one of the reasons why this is really impactful for us is because the volume of traffic we get from CTV is actually quite large. About as a B2B brand, we get a lot of traffic to our website. Considering our profile, about 25%, quarter of all of our website traffic is attributable to our CTV campaigns. We're a very aggressive CTV advertiser, somewhat obviously. And so it gives us a high volume, quick opportunity to test out some sort of video creative that we could take those learnings and apply it to other audiences. And so, some other things that we're doing is we're obviously not just relying on CTV. We're advertising on a variety of other channels. We're utilizing video ad units that are complementary to our CTV ads. One thing that I'll call out, some non-Mountain thing that I'll call out, is we've had a ton of success with Reddit as a B2B brand. I don't know if everybody else is really hitting Reddit hard, but it's been fantastic and really unique audience targeting by way of subreddits. Any Redditor, I don't know if there's any Redditors here, but the way the subreddits are kind of architected really make for great audience targeting, specifically for B2B marketers. And also, one big finding that we had too is feature-based ads really resonate with our ABM audiences. Now, again, you may have seen some of our creative with Ryan, which is fantastic, but that's really the tippy top of the funnel, the stuff that we do with Ryan. And I remember sitting on my couch one day and I was served a Mountain ad, and it was with Ryan. And I thought to myself, as a B2B marketer like you all, this is great, but what if I'm already familiar with Mountain and I'm a prospect, and now I just kind of squandered this impression that I had with this user just to show another ad with Ryan in it that didn't tell a whole lot about our platform. And so I went back to the team and I said, let's create, this is like digital marketing 101, right? Let's create a mid-funnel ad that already assumes that they know who Mountain is, that's actually speaking to some of the features that are relevant to this audience. And we narrated it without Ryan. Our video producer was the one who narrated it. We threw together the ad in a day. And the results were fantastic. We increased conversion rates by 95%. We cut our cost per acquisition in half by running this campaign. And it's not to say that we're not going to run campaigns with Ryan anymore. It's tremendously important to the top of our funnel. But we also learned that there's things that we could do for mid and lower funnel. The sort of macro point with all of this isn't to kind of patronize you all and teaching you what the marketing funnel is, but rather to say that a lot of these learnings that you've all had over the courses of your careers with regards to best practices in digital marketing apply to TV advertising. TV advertising is not some magical thing that operates in an entirely different way. Especially in the case of CTV, it's just another digital advertising medium. So you can carry over a lot of those learnings that you already have, and those instincts that you have as a digital marketer can also be applied to this channel as well. Now, another thing that we do, probably not so surprising, is we've ramped up case studies. This is the most common asset that you all get asked about from your sales organizations, I'm sure. It's the same for me. And so what we do is we took those and we turned those into assets that we use in our CTV campaigns. So what's been great is we're shooting these great video testimonials with our clients, and we're converting those into TV assets. So now, whenever our team is creating any sort of video asset of any type, I always ask for a 15 or a 30-second variation, cut down of whatever asset that we're creating, because everything is a CTV asset for me. So yeah, we've been doing some great. This is a clip from a case study that we did with a client. Everything's just kind of turned into that. Which again, I got to say, high volume. There's high frequency with these CTV ads, especially considering the kinds of budgets that we're putting into CTV. We got to turn over our creative pretty frequently, or else, I suspect everybody here is streaming TV, and you've gotten to the point where you see the same ad and the same ad break every single time. And like, I'll never forgive Visit Utah Tourism Board. I don't know if anyone's ever here. I was watching March Madness one year. Every single commercial break, three in a row. Visit Utah. I will never visit Utah. I'm kidding. My brother lives there, but still, point stands. But ad fatigue's a real thing, and so you need to turn over your creative pretty frequently. It's hard to come by TV commercials. I think a lot of people think of that's a huge hurdle to just procure TV commercials. But don't make it seem that big in your head. It's really just a video asset, and something like a video testimonial is good enough to run as your asset. And so one word of caution that I want to give to everybody is, and this is a lesson as a marketing leader that I want to give to the other marketing leaders. I've had some like really great ideas related to ABM, and it left me with asking myself, is the juice worth the squeeze? I remember at Mountain, we really like big experiences. We really like to kind of delight people. We did an ABM program about 3 or 4 years ago where we created customized landing pages for our top 100 prospects. We scraped their websites, got their color palettes, product imagery, logos. We customized audience segments for every single advertiser. And it was a success. I remember a Fortune 100 company saw the landing page dedicated to them, and they had the reaction that I wanted, which was, who the hell are these people? How did they do this? This is incredible. And it turned into business, which is great. But it was debilitating to the marketing team. I sucked up all of the bandwidth of our marketing team, giving them the most rote, somewhat meaningless marketing work to be doing for 6 months just for this campaign. It was great that we got that one client, but it was not great to just kind of take up the team's entire bandwidth to do something like that. And so I'm only saying this from my own experience of doing that, which is you really got to be honest with yourselves in terms of, is the juice worth the squeeze? Sometimes some of these experiences are awesome to look at. They're great to look at. And if you can get it in front of the right person, it can be really impactful, but is it worth it? You're really talking about the tiniest of audiences. Even with a large company like Nike, for example, the audience relative to audiences that you're targeting in the world of advertising is just microscopic. And so is it worth it to go that far along the line relative to personalization? I really don't think so. And finally, relationships matter. I'm saying this as I'm looking at our head of sales at the back of the room. Having a close relationship with your sales leaders is very important. Getting their feedback in this whole process is really important. There's a lot of marketers out there. I mean, look, it's not a surprise. There's a lot of like adversarial relationships between heads of marketing and heads of sales. It's not really a surprise. And sometimes that leads marketing leaders to just kind of do things on their own because it's easier. It feels like there's less resistance in doing that. But really doing that without any sort of input from sales, it's tempting to do it because it's more efficient in some ways. But really, at the end of the day, we're all in it to drive more sales. And again, some of these ideas may be cool, but if we feel like it's not going to actually impact the bottom line, it may be best to kind of do something maybe slightly more conventional, or just go back to the drawing board and find something that your partners also are bought into. And so I really believe that. And at Mountain, we believe that so much that we've actually moved the SDR team into the marketing org. The SDR team is in my organization at Mountain. That's how much we're sort of tuned into how the SDRs are collecting frontline feedback that feeds the marketing machine. It's not a single directional sort of relationship where we just drive leads and throw them to the SDRs. They feed us back information that influences a lot of the marketing work that you actually see from us. So in conclusion, a couple of takeaways. Obviously, it makes sense to stay top of mind for your prospects. You all know that. That's what you're doing in your day jobs anyway. CTV may not be the first channel that you're thinking of, but it really should be. It really is a big differentiator. Even if your competitors are using CTV, there are ways that you can probably target better than them. There are ways that you could probably create better creative than them that speaks better to your prospects. And depending on the platform that you're using, you may have a better opportunity at being able to track the impact of your CTV campaigns than they do. And also, don't agonize over the creative. I mean, you agonize over the creative, but don't agonize over the ability to procure new creative. It's easier than you think to actually put creative together. You're likely sitting on some assets that can help you put that creative together. So with that, I don't know where we are in timing. Maybe I can answer a couple of questions if anyone has any. We also have a booth on the floor, so make sure you check out Mountain. Any questions? Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. See ya.